Thank you for being a part of our instructional support team. This video is your orientation to the responsibilities and expectations attached to your position, as well as an initial step in your training. Your coordinator will follow up with a brief interview to ensure a working understanding of your role. As an employee of Richland College, you are one of the important frontline faces that represent to the larger community who we are and what we're all about. How you dress, how you talk, and how you behave in your role as an instructional support facilitator reflects positively or negatively on the department, campus, and college you work for. You are expected to dress professionally in what is commonly called business casual attire. Shorts, sandals, halter tops, and torn clothes are not acceptable. What you wear shouldn't be a distraction for students. Always be on time for your shift, and when you're there, be mindful of projecting to students the warm welcome they deserve. Greet them with a smile and a kind word. If you had a chance to learn a student's name in a previous session, make your greeting all the more personal by using it now. We want to help students feel welcomed, acknowledged, and excited to be here. In the Learning Center, we strive to create a culture that is positive and supportive, what I call a provident organization. Provident organizations are intentional about helping employees and the people they serve feel safe, centered, connected, and included in something purposeful, relevant, and worthwhile. We do this by honoring 5 very important core values. Respect means that each student will be treated as a human being seeking to learn, not as somebody with a problem. Students who seek help already feel inadequate to some extent, so it's especially important to acknowledge them as more than the problem they are up against. Kindness means that all students will feel welcome and supported by caring people who believe in them. Kindness is how respect behaves and treats others. It also helps students relax and get focused on what needs their attention. Patience means that students will be supported for as long as it takes for them to become successful, independent learners. Everyone learns at their own pace, and some students will take longer than others. Don't rush, don't push, and don't blame students if they don't get it right away. Encouragement means that we work consistently to remind students that they already possess the desire and intelligence it takes to succeed. For some, this deeper potential is covered over by a lot of limiting self-talk and bad habits. Your words of encouragement might be just what a student needs to reach deeper into him or herself and stay on task. Forgiveness means that students will not be defined by failure or the inevitable mistakes they make on the way to success. Our most important successes in life not only outlive our mistakes, but are frequently made possible by them. Every failure offers up valuable lessons we can build on. Our 5 core values are what create the culture we want, where students are supported and inspired to do their best. As far as what facilitators do with students, we make a few critical distinctions. One is to say that a facilitator does not stand in for the instructor. Students have primary and supplemental resources for what they need to know. Their class instructor, teaching assistants, and embedded tutors inside the classroom, as well as textbooks and other print or digital materials required or recommended in the course. All of these can be considered resources for what students need to know. Facilitators do not number among them. That is to say, a facilitator does not take the position of a teacher and give instruction. The fact is, facilitators don't get paid enough to be teachers, and they are typically not credentialed experts in their fields. In addition, what a facilitator might teach relative to the course curriculum could be very different from what the actual course instructor is teaching in class. This difference can generate confusion for the student and damage his or her chances for success. If facilitators don't stand in for instructors, neither should they step in for students and do the work for them. As long as someone else does the work for them, students won't develop the skills they need to become independent learners. When a student comes to you for help, there's a high probability that their difficulty with the course or subject has motivated them to avoid and procrastinate on their studies. As a consequence, they find themselves having to cram it all in at the last minute. So, attached to their question or problem is a lot of other stuff. Anxiety, exhaustion, impatience, desperation, discouragement, and it's all coming at you. To manage all of this negative energy, it would be tempting to just give them the answer they're asking for by standing in for the instructor. Equally tempting would be to just solve the problem for them, thus stepping in for the student. Essential to doing your job then is recognizing these temptations on either side and making sure you don't give in. Your distinct contribution to student success consists in helping students gain and grow stronger in the essential skills that support learning. Instructors teach them what to know. You coach them in how to learn. To help keep the focus of your work where it needs to be, you have 5 methods at your disposal. By definition, a method is a way of doing something, which already creates an important separation from what a student needs to know in order to complete an assignment or pass a test. Here, once again, is that critical distinction, this time between what a student needs to know and how to learn what they need to know. Our instructional support methods help students get stronger in the skills of learning. Think of it this way. The smart student doesn't know everything, but the smart student can learn anything by mastering just 5 basic methods that apply to every subject. You were hired as an instructional support facilitator because you have been successful in achieving high grades in a specific course or subject. Chances are you enjoy success in other courses as well, not because they are in the same subject area, but rather due to the fact that you are strong in the skills that support higher learning. Let's look at our 5 instructional support methods one at a time. Your brain is responsible for a lot. It regulates the internal environment of your body, it manages your responses to the environment outside your body, and it is constantly updating its picture of reality based on sense perceptions, personal experience, shared beliefs, and future predictions. As your organ of learning, your brain is always asking questions and coming up with answers. Our first instructional support method is called Ask Open-Ended Questions, building on something a student's brain already does, if not always consciously. When faced with something new and unfamiliar, referring to what the student needs to learn but doesn't yet know, you can support their brain's natural behavior by asking open-ended questions. What does this problem remind you of? What parts of it are familiar? What do you think might be your first step towards the solution? These are called open-ended questions because they cannot be answered by a simple yes or no. Notice that you don't ask the student, "Do you understand this problem?" The fact that they've come to you for help already implies that they don't. An answer of no merely confirms what's obvious, but it also has the negative effect of closing down the thinking process. Asking instead, "What about this problem is familiar?" gets the student's brain looking for an answer, which is the foundational skill of learning anything. In a sense, you are there to help the student by demonstrating this foundational skill of learning by feeding their brain questions that inspire creative thinking. You are speaking out loud what the student needs to start doing for him or herself. By modeling good open-ended questions, you are helping the student eventually become an independent learner. To get the knowledge they need in order to complete an assignment or pass a test, students can't simply make it up. Instead, they need to identify their resources and then use those resources effectively. As mentioned earlier in this video, a student's typical resources include the course instructor, supplemental instructors inside and outside the classroom, along with textbooks and other print or digital materials. It should be obvious that in order to acquire what they need to know for an assignment or test, students have to go to class, pay attention and take good notes, as well as open and read their textbook. For whatever reason, some students have not developed good practices such as these. They might choose to distract themselves in class or skip class altogether, to save money and not buy the textbook or try to get by without reading it. Our second instructional support method is called Direct to Resources, which is about helping students connect to those sources of what they need to know. When a student asks you a question or presents you with a problem they can't figure out, instead of answering the question or solving the problem for them, you can ask to see their class notes or have them open their textbook to the appropriate chapter. Just as you do when you ask open-ended questions, you are modeling the behavior that supports successful learning. Answering questions and solving problems for the student only makes them dependent on you and once again puts you in the role of a teacher rather than an instructional support facilitator. This could be the time to recommend that the student attend a workshop on effective note-taking or on how to get the most from their course textbook. Our third instructional support method is called Make a Plan, referring to a step-by-step strategy that leads to the achievement of a goal. Many students struggle in school because they don't take the time to clarify goals and lay out the steps for accomplishing them. Instead, and this is particularly the case in courses they don't enjoy or feel strong in, or are perhaps required by the degree plan but lack any obvious relevance to the degree itself, they try to get by on as little time and effort as possible, reacting to problems as they arise. Making a plan is essential for success not only in an academic environment, but in life in general. What a student might be struggling with, whether it be a class assignment or something on a coming exam, is really part of a larger picture and a longer process. Helping them put it in context and build a strategy for success is already an important step toward a meaningful solution. You can help students make a plan for solving a specific problem, for doing their best on an assignment or test, or for getting the most from the course by clarifying their desired outcome and identifying the steps to achieving it. As an instructional support facilitator, you don't make the plan for the student, but instead use your other methods to support the student in doing this. Just as a specific problem or assignment can be more easily solved or completed when it is made part of a plan, some problems are complex enough to benefit from being broken down into their component parts. The complexity of a problem can sometimes make it seem like an unsolvable riddle until its parts are isolated and separately understood. Our fourth instructional support method is called Build Mini Lessons, where the facilitator breaks the problem down into its simpler parts and helps the student master those first. And how do you do that? By asking open-ended questions and directing the student to his or her class resources. It would certainly be easier for you just to teach students what they should already know, but as we've heard several times during this video, that is not your role. In building mini lessons, you help the student break a problem down to its component parts, develop mastery at that basic level, and then put the pieces back together for the solution. If you want to be a successful performer on the stage of Carnegie Hall, you know what you need to do, don't you? Practice, practice, practice. The same is true for success in anything. You first master the mechanics of a skill, and then you keep practicing until you become proficient or fluent in its performance. Providing guided practice is our fifth and final instructional support method. We put it last in the list, but you should really see it as a way of integrating the other four methods. Successful students practice, that is to say, they do their homework, review their notes, summarize what they are learning, and they keep practicing the techniques they are needing to master. It's never a once and done kind of thing. An instructional support facilitator will provide the student with a practice problem similar to the one that motivated them to seek help in the first place. After asking open-ended questions, reviewing resources, making a plan, breaking things down, and building mastery, you should leave the student alone for some time to work it out. Check back after a while or when the student requests your help and use the same methods as before. Your objective throughout this process is to eventually help the student get to the point where he or she no longer needs your help. You have helped the student become an independent learner, and that is the ultimate goal and purpose in what you do. These 5 instructional support methods are like a revolving set of skills that build on and reinforce each other throughout the learning process. You should think of them as an integrative system of behaviors that support higher learning. Every successful learner uses them, and you help students by modeling these behaviors to them. Let's shift our focus now from how you help students as an instructional support facilitator to the importance of keeping service records. Because a student might seek help multiple times in a single visit to one of our instructional support areas, we need to capture the details of each what we call service event. The means of doing this is simple and fairly quick and can be completed using a smartphone in real time as you are helping students. For every service event, you will record the student's system ID number, the course they need help in, the topic or topics you covered with the student during the session, the methods you used, and whether or not your session was online. Open the service record form when your session begins and complete form fields 1 through 3. At the conclusion of your session, complete form fields 4 through 6 and tap Submit. Each form will automatically record the start time and finish time of the session. Collecting useful data is critically important to what we do. These records allow us to filter according to a number of factors and generate a variety of reports, as well as provide a way for us to verify the support we give students semester to semester. This concludes your orientation and initial training for your role as an instructional support facilitator. Thanks for being a valued member of our team. Be sure to contact your coordinator with any questions, suggestions, or concerns.